Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Saudi Arabia coronavirus vlog. Today is Monday, April 27th. It's about 5:30 p.m. and let's talk about some of the updates. So we had another record-breaking day, unfortunately, in the kingdom with 1,289 new cases for a total of 18,811. The world saw an increase of about 85,000 cases, bringing us to 2,990,000. Before midnight tonight, we're going to hit 3 million. So that's another grisly milepost on the conquest of COVID-19. In addition to these 1,289 new cases, in Saudi Arabia, we had 174 new recoveries, which is good, bringing us to 2,531. 5 more deaths, bringing the total to 144. Jeddah had 294 of these new cases, Mecca 218, Medina 202, Dammam 26, Riyadh 178, Baish in Jazan region got 126 more cases, 37 in Hofuf, 50 in Khobar, Jubail had 107, Abha, not far from where I am in Khamis, had one more case, and Khamis Mushait also had one more. Yesterday I talked about Baish and why in one day Jazan region got 63% of its total cases. And now it looks like they're getting a very large chunk again. And somebody posted in one of the comments to the last video that in their local newspaper, it was reported that a COVID-19 positive worker from Jeddah came down to Baish and is credited with, or blamed, I should say, with jump-starting the epidemic in that city. So it really goes to show you how just one person can really basically change the infection status of a whole city and even the greater region, because a lot of other cases in Jazan region were reported that day as well. So I guess they're doing a lot of extra testing in Baish and the surrounding cities to check that progression and see where that went. All right, so let's talk about some of the news, some of the other news today. Not really related to COVID-19, as far as I know. Flogging, or that is to say lashing, has been abolished as a punishment in Saudi Arabia. It might still be the punishment for single men who are adulterers. I didn't quite understand the article, but now you cannot get lashes for committing crimes in Saudi Arabia. So physical punishment is out. And a few days earlier, the death penalty, capital punishment in Saudi Arabia, was abolished for minors, for people under the age of majority, which in Saudi Arabia is 18, I believe. So we're seeing a progression in the kingdom away from harsher punishments under the law. And I think one of the reasons why they got rid of the lashing, I don't know if this is done with an actual whip or some other instrument, a reed or a stick or a club or something. It's supposedly because also one of the reasons is that different judges have their own jurisprudence and sometimes give out punishments that are either too strict or not strict enough, considered by the whatever legal authorities there are in this kingdom. I'm not really sure how the law works. I just keep my head down and don't break any laws, and right now I'm just staying at home pretty much. So anyway, that just kind of the discrepancy. One judge might give a certain amount of lashes, another might give a disproportionate amount, or so forth. But I don't know what I'm talking about here. So let's just move on. China and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia made a landmark COVID-19 agreement, a deal. It was like more than $200 million worth, I think. Saudi Arabia is getting 9 million testing kits from China, 500 specialist technicians, and 6 testing labs. I assume this is just labs for determining whether someone has the virus or not. And they say that Saudi Arabia will be able to test 60,000 people a day, which is great. But we hear reports about agreements that China's made with other countries. They give them testing kits, but the testing kits don't work. They give false positives or false negatives, or they're just not reliable. So I don't know what's going on with regard to that and these tests, but that's something that has to be considered, and I'm sure it is. I'm sure lots of people are thinking and talking about this. Saudi Arabia is buying 60,000 tons of wheat from Ukraine as part of an attempt to keep up their strategic reserves of food in the kingdom. Nothing more needs to be said there. It's great to be prepared. And Japan is banning people traveling from Saudi Arabia to going to Japan. I think you have to self-quarantine in a different country for a few weeks first, and then you can come to Japan. And they also banned a bunch of other countries, so it's not like they just targeted Saudi here. And lastly, I want to end with a ranking of 11 Middle Eastern countries, or 10, and what percent of the people living in these countries have tested positive and been confirmed tested positive for COVID-19. Now, these figures are based on the infection totals today that I found on the Johns Hopkins coronavirus tracker. They only represent the confirmed cases. So in a place like Iraq, they don't have as many tests. They're just not doing as much testing. So the numbers are actually going to be probably disproportionately lower than the actual number of people in the country that have it. So there are errors. There can be errors explained by lack of data or bad data. So the countries I'll be listing in no particular order yet: Saudi Arabia, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Bahrain, Iran, Kuwait, Iraq, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Palestine, which includes Gaza, and Egypt. I chose not to include Yemen in this ranking because the country is in basically various states of chaos, civil war, supply chain breakdown, poverty, famine, locust plagues. It's just too much going on, and I'm sure that their data is just not really reliable whatsoever. So I thought it would just be best not to include them. So starting at number 10, we'll start at number 10 and move all the way up to number 1. We have a tie with 0.004% people confirmed infected. This is Jordan and Egypt. They tied for number 10. Number 9, Iraq. Just barely number 9. It was almost tied for 10. Number 8, Palestine, which includes Gaza. Surprised it's not higher because there's a lot of traffic between Palestine and Israel. Anyway, well, maybe it's a testing disparity. Number 7 is Lebanon at 0.01% of the population infected. Number 6, Saudi Arabia with 0.055. Oh wait, I screwed up. Oh, no. Oops, I see my mistake. All right, actual number 7 is Lebanon, and then the actual number 6, I screwed up. All right, we'll say 6.5. Number 6.5 is Oman, and then number 6 is Saudi. Number 5 is the United Arab Emirates with 0.106%. Number 4 is Iran. I count them in the list. They're not really Middle East, sort of. Iran with number 4. They have a total of over 91,000 total confirmed cases. At number 3, owing to its small size, Bahrain. Number 2 is Israel with 0.182%. And number 1, by a long shot, is Qatar. They have a ton of infected cases. They have a confirmed total of 11,244. That is a percent of the country, meaning 0.397. So about 0.4% of people in Iran have the coronavirus, which means out of 250 people, about 1 in Qatar has coronavirus. 1 in 250. So that's not exactly a great first place trophy, but that's just what happens. Supposedly a lot of the Qatar original infections came from pilgrims coming from Iran into Qatar, and a lot of those pilgrims also went to Bahrain, or from Qatar right to Saudi, and then some of the ones from Bahrain came to Saudi, and that's supposedly how Saudi Arabia got most of its cases as well, the first cases. So that's just the ranking of some of the the Middle Eastern countries. I didn't list all of them. Didn't do Syria, I didn't do Sudan, didn't go to Pakistan, but whatever. Anyway, that's some of the major ones in the region. So if you like this video, give it a like, give it a thumbs up. If you have a question that you want me to answer in a future video, or in the comments of this YouTube video, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. And somebody said that in response to me talking about Lufthansa and Turkish Airlines having flights listed for sale in the middle of May, they said that don't really bother about those. That because Saudia Airline, which is perhaps the best and most noteworthy airline in Saudi Arabia, Saudia Airlines does not have any flights listed until June, and they would probably know more than Turkish Airlines or Lufthansa or Gulf Air or any of the other minor ones that were also listing flights. So I still don't know how exactly I'm gonna get out of here or when. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.